This is a Toyota Prius all-wheel drive E, and in this video we are going to test the all-wheel drive system. You see, I actually requested this car from Toyota because I specifically wanted to test the all-wheel drive system, and we just got a nice fresh 5 inches of powder last night, and we're going to see if this all-wheel drive system does anything. Now, the reason I sound so skeptical is the rear motor on the rear axle, making it an all-wheel drive. Again, it's primarily a front-wheel drive vehicle, is only 7 horsepower, and it only engages from a launch up to 6 miles per hour under normal driving. Now, Toyota says this motor can kick in anytime the car notices front wheels spin, and there's a little gauge in the car to say how much that motor is actually helping. So what we're going to do is run the car through a series of tests on flat ground. We're going to try to see if we can cause power on oversteer in this parking lot here, see if we can get it to drift, and so many other tests, including uphills and starts and stops, and should be pretty interesting. So join us as we test the very interesting all-wheel drive E system of the 2021 Toyota Prius. Before we get into the all-wheel drive system, let me tell you what makes this car different from the normal front-wheel drive Prius. Now, there's 3 versions of the Prius, actually. There's the regular front-wheel drive, there's this all-wheel drive, and then there's the Prius Prime, which we've also tested. That car is a plug-in hybrid. This is just a regular hybrid that charges the high-voltage system from the combustion engine and from regenerative braking. So, on this Prius, we have, again, that 7 horsepower rear axle, but you also lose 3 mpg average on the EPA testing cycle. So, you gain a 7 horsepower electric motor on the back, but you lose 3 mpg. You also get a totally different battery pack on the all-wheel drive version than you do on the regular front-wheel drive Prius. We'll forget about the Prime's battery pack right now. The front-wheel drive Prius uses a lithium-ion pack that sits underneath the seat. And while the location of this nickel metal hydrate battery in the all-wheel drive version is in the same location, it has actually double the capacity, or near as makes no difference, at least 80% bigger. So I assume they did this so they could power the rear axle for a longer period of time. Now, in another video, which you'll see, not sure if this will go up before or after, I took this car on a canyon drive and I drove it up one of my favorite roads, and it actually ran out of high voltage battery for the really steep climb, and I was left with just the 96 horsepower combustion engine pulling me up these really quite steep hills at high altitude. So that 96 horsepower at sea level is probably closer to 80 horsepower here, and I was actually losing speed on the uphills. Now, I'm not a Prius hater, although I am a car enthusiast. I actually like the Prius. I think they're pretty good. This car is amazing to drive around town. It's ultra comfortable. It's really nice. You'll see this in my other coverage. But in this video particularly, I just want to talk about the all-wheel drive system, and we're going to run it through a series of challenges to see if it makes a difference. Challenge number 1, we're going to see if this car can do a donut. Now, this isn't just all fun and games. What we're looking for is any rotation on the rear axle from that 7 horsepower, 43 pound-feet of torque motor at low speed. What I'm going to do is fully disable traction control. I'm going to be stopped. I'm holding the button in. Stability control is now completely off. And now we're going to see if we get any bit of rotation. If we do, then that might be a really good thing for the Prius. It may actually work, but I have a feeling we're not going to see much. It's just going to understeer and plow. So let's see how much that rear axle is helping. First impressions, doesn't seem to be doing much. I can feel the front wheels spinning and it's just pushing the car forwards. If anything, it almost feels like the rear motor's not doing anything at all. Will it do a J-turn? This is something all Prii do very well. Not scientific and does not have to do with the rear electric motor, but let's just find out. Guys, I just had to make a U-turn back there because we were getting some B-roll shots, and I got just a little bit of throttle on, so much that, not so much that it overwhelmed the front axle, but I was just accelerating moderately, and the back end actually came around a little bit, which shows that the rear axle is actually helping. So that's really neat. So this may that's really positive, and it actually felt like it gave it quite a bit of grunt, just a quick burst of power. It rotated the rear around. It was quite nice, I gotta say. So maybe the Prius all-wheel drive E isn't as bad as I am expecting. This is good news. Let's take it to this ramp in town. While we're on our way over to the parking garage, let's just talk about the Prius in general. In case you don't see all of our videos, we go in depth in multiple videos, but just a general overview. This car is, again, the 2021 Prius all-wheel drive. Last year was the 20th anniversary of the Prius in the US, which I'm sure most people don't find very exciting, but it just shows how well these cars are doing globally. You see them all over the world. They are super strong, reliable cars, very under-stressed vehicles, and they just feel like they will run and run and run almost forever. And of course, we have ABS kicking in, no problem. Really, the tires on this car are just especially bad. You can see we're using that all-wheel drive system again. But it's got great driver assistance technology, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping, plenty of space, and if you live in a cold environment, this extra high voltage battery capacity, going with this 6.5 amp hour pack at 200 volts may actually make a big difference here in terms of just battery life and even MPG around the city. So I wish I had a front wheel drive to compare it against and test, but if you guys want that enough, I'm sure we can arrange. And it may not look like it, but we're actually on a pretty steep uphill slope here on like a super icy slick surface. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna park the Prius with two wheels on this middle bit that looks plowed but is just a sheet of ice, and two on the grippy surface. And we're gonna see if it will spin the back tire at all. If it does, we know there's enough torque to even help move the car around. And if it doesn't, then it's almost a useless system. Although, I think it's not helping us in this cold weather. It's definitely an assistance, but is it true all-wheel drive? That I'm not so sure about. So I think it's just a marketing stunt. They just wanted to call it an all-wheel drive. So let's park two wheels here, and I'm just gonna floor it uphill. So for this test, I'm gonna leave traction control on. I'm in regular, normal drive. There's no like all-wheel drive mode. I'm gonna point this car forwards, and if you see the rear wheel spin, that's a win for a Prius. If you don't, I don't think the rear axle is helping enough. Ready, Timon? Didn't spin at all. Well, then I guess it's not a win for the Prius. I think certainly under light acceleration, light throttle, the rear axle does help because you're not overwhelming it with power on the front, but it's such a minuscule amount of help. I'm not sure it makes a difference, and I'm definitely not so sure it makes that 3 mpg penalty any better. I think you just get snow tires for a front wheel drive one. Let's try it one more time.
Spun the rear tire after you were moving.
Okay, so it actually did spin the rear tire there. And so it just basically found that the front axle, I guess, didn't have enough traction. It really boosted up the rear. So hey, maybe it's a win for the Prius. Hard to say. What do you think? Do you think this is a true all-wheel drive system with this little assistance electric motor on the back? Or would you have loved to see either a bigger electric motor that can certainly help in more scenarios? Or do you think this assistance is just enough? And I'm sort of torn. I could see it going either way, but at least we were able to bring this to you in this quick video. Thanks so much for watching. Plenty of other content on the Prius all-wheel drive coming. Hope you stay tuned and watch it. See you later on. Bye-bye.